for my voice. So I'm going to do my best. I'm a little bit hoarse tonight. I'm getting over a cold. But we wanted to keep this meeting because we knew everybody heard about it. We didn't want to postpone, but I'm going to do well as I can with my voice, which is a little bit hoarse today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vivian Brady Phillips, and I am the Executive Director of the Jersey City Housing Authority. Many of you were here for our 6-month community engagement planning process, which we started in January. So I'm glad to see so many of you back, and I'm also glad to see some new faces. So tonight, we are going to be talking about your rights and our responsibility when it comes to relocation. And that is governed by the Uniform Relocation Act. During the time that we met over the 6 months, many of you had a lot of questions about relocation. And remember, we said we were going to do the first of several dedicated sessions so that you understand your rights in terms of relocation. Because as you know, the determination was made that we're going to redevelop this property. We have provided a timeline, and we'll be going over that. But at the outset, I want to say yet again that the earliest that the relocation process will begin is fall of 2021. It will not start any earlier than that. It may actually start later. But I want you to know that so that you have a sense of the timeline. So we're talking about a little more than 2 years from now at the earliest. So first, some ground rules about what we're trying to do here. One of the concerns we have at the agency is since you have rights to relocation, we want to make sure that you have accurate, clear information at the outset so that you can make the best decisions for yourself and your families. We don't want you to rely on social media posts, or if you know someone who at another point was relocated. Every situation is unique. You have distinct legal rights, and we want you to understand that we want to give you accurate information about those rights. So to ensure accuracy and transparency, that's why we're starting more than 2 years before anything happens. We are going to be taking all of the questions, writing them down, and what we're going to be creating is a growing list of frequently asked questions. So we're going to be going over a lot of information tonight. This document will live on our website. We will also have copies at the main office. We will also have, you see, our IT Director Neighbor Nadella. He takes these meetings. It goes on the Holland Gardens Vision website. So these, you don't take as many notes as you want, but this information isn't disappearing. It will continue to grow. So I don't want you to be nervous about that. So we have the website up there, www.hollandgardensvision.org. Not only will we have information about relocation that we're adding, but every single one of the meetings we did from January to June, and all of the documents that we share reside there. So that's an ongoing community resource for everyone here and for advocates. So tonight we're going to do a recap of Holland Gardens Revitalization, what the 6 months resulted in, an overview of the Uniform Relocation Act. We're going to be talking about residents' rights under the URA, that's shorthand for the Uniform Relocation Act, and relocation eligibility. We're going to talk about our obligations to you and our commitments, and we're going to provide an estimated timeline and next steps. And then we're also going to provide ways to participate and stay up to date. So as I said before, the same way we met monthly to talk about the visioning, we will be meeting at minimum quarterly during the whole time as we're putting the vision into action. So there'll be multiple times for you to ask questions We have also invited a wide array of advocacy organizations and legal services organizations to this event. And we did that because we want to make sure that groups that are supportive of tenants have the information directly from us. And that you, if you're representing an organization, know how to reach us if you are counseling or providing information to a tenant, so you have the information directly from us. So thank you, those in addition to tenants who are coming from outside organizations. We appreciate your participation. So, a recap of where we are with Holland Gardens revitalization. So from January to June of 2019, we sponsored a visioning process with Holland Gardens residents. We hired the design firm Kitchen and Associates, which is a firm of urban designers and architects and others, to lead a series of monthly workshops and visioning sessions. And the key decisions and findings were, one, that the existing conditions at Holland Gardens present significant challenges for both residents and the Jersey City Housing Authority. According to our most recent physical needs assessment, we're actually doing that again this year, an estimated $21 million would be needed over the 20-year period to maintain the current properties, leaving the buildings as is. That means not doing substantial rehabilitation, just as is. That number may change as we do our new physical needs assessment. 3, the option is not financially feasible to do a rehabilitation. Because, and what does rehabilitation mean? Keeping the buildings up and making improvements. Why? Because it would not fully address resident concerns, including parking, environmental issues. Those of you who were part of this, we had issues around air quality here. We had issues around flooding, unit size. We talked quite a bit about the fact that, the current unit sizes here are well below what is considered adequate, and access for elderly residents or residents with disabilities. We have a lot of ways to go in terms of ADA compliance, for example. So the determination was the best option was to redevelop the site, and we have made an ongoing commitment to one-to-one replacement of these public housing units. There are 192 units here. The redeveloped property will have 192 public housing units. There will be higher density, a mix of incomes, and mixed use. If you remember, we talked about a wide array of amenities that would come in the building. All of this is on the website, all of the documents, if you want to look at some of these decisions and findings. So now, where are we? So earlier this month, we brought the visioning documents to our board, and they authorized us to go forward with the redevelopment process. The first thing we say at the outset, so everybody knows, yet again, relocation is not expected to begin until fall of 2021 at the earliest. Why is that? I know when we first started this process, people had heard rumors that the building had been sold or that we already had a developer in place. None of that was true. In fact, we came to residents before any action. And what that means is now we have to determine what entities would be qualified to do this work. We need to get approval not only from our board, but from HUD and also from different city entities. So we feel very good at the authority that we came to tenants at the very beginning of the process. I know that for many of you, the idea of relocating, and it's destabilizing, it is stressful. But what we can say to you is that we are really trying to do this in a way that minimizes the disruption and the stress, and we're in the position to address every tenant's unique situation and needs. And that's why we feel strongly about starting these conversations more than 2 years in advance. To protect your right to relocation assistance, we advise that you do not move out of your unit until you are provided with a written notice of relocation eligibility. We will be going through the different steps of this, but you in no way should take any action that may have an impact on your legal rights. Please do not make decisions on something someone else has said. If at any point you have questions, we are here and we'll have processes to give you accurate information. But I'm very concerned that people not make decisions, even though we are definitely relocating this property. As I said, it takes a long process, and you want to ensure that your rights are protected. You do not want to make decisions that might have an impact on that. First, we're going to talk about the Uniform Relocation Act. That is the law that requires us to do certain things when we are redeveloping a property. It is the law that provides a set of rights for you. So it is a long-standing law, signed into law in 1971. It's actually under the Department of Transportation, which is the lead federal agency for the URA. Interestingly enough, it is not HUD. It is a federal law that establishes minimum standards when you're acquiring property or and relocation assistance for federally funded programs and projects. It also applies in situations like this where we're redeveloping. And it provides protections for people who must move due to a federally funded project. So it applies to acquisition, rehabilitation, and demolition. If federal funds are used in any phase of a project, this law applies. And the objectives of the URA is to provide fair, consistent, equitable treatment of people displaced by federally assisted projects. We also want to minimize, under the law, or the law seeks to minimize the impact of relocation for persons displaced as a result of projects designed for the benefit of the public as a whole. So, the agency is us, and the tenants, you'll see these terminologies, will be referred to as the displaced person. The general provisions, and we're going to go through each and every one of these, are advisory services. So we're having a general meeting and overview today, but we are required by law to have a one-on-one advisory session with every single resident. I say that because I'm glad that you're here, but sometimes we have personal things that we do not want to talk about in a public meeting. You may think of a number of questions over the duration. You will have a one-on-one advisory session with every single resident who lives here. You are entitled to comparable replacement housing. We're going to talk about that specifically. You're entitled to moving expense payments. You are entitled to replacement housing payments. There are 90-day minimum written notice to vacate. And then we have a concept that's under the law called housing of last resort. And we're going to take each of these in turn. I'm going to just stop for a moment. Do we have the cards for questions?
Yeah, they weren't done.
Okay, they're not doing that. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about process. Okay. Hello. So advisory service. What does that mean? That, hello. Welcome. So advisory services. The URA requires the displacing agency, that is us, to offer basic advisory services to persons who must relocate. This requires us to explain your eligibility requirements, the services and payments, to conduct a personal interview to determine needs and preferences. That's a one-to-one meeting that I talked about. To provide appropriate services and payments, and to assist in the preparing of claim forms for relocation payment and other assistance. Many members of the Jersey City Housing Authority staff are here tonight. We have put together a multi-departmental staff to work on this project. It takes a lot of planning to relocate 190 or so families, do it well. So understand that part of the time that's required is for us to make sure that we can serve you the best way possible and meet our legal requirements. And that requires quite a bit of internal coordination. And we'll be introducing the development team, for those of you who don't know them, who are responsible for this work. Moving expense payments. Displaced persons are eligible for reimbursement of actual moving expenses to move their personal property. We have, two ways to pay for it. We can do the actual cost, or there's a sort of what's that word? There's a schedule. I see it up there, based on the location of what is a reasonable cost. Residents who choose to return to the redeveloped site will also be reimbursed to move your belongings, furniture, and all of that back. So you get going to your new location and you get moved back. That is something that we do for families that choose to return. And that's required under the URA. Comparable replacement housing. Agencies, that's us, must offer displaced persons comparable replacement housing before they can be required to move. So we can't just say move. You have to move to a new home. And we have to assist you with identifying those comparable replacement housing needs. And that is defined by regulation. It must be decent, safe, and sanitary. And we have to inspect that new housing to make sure that it meets established standards. Replacement housing payments. Tenants may be eligible for replacement housing payment if they choose to leave public housing without a voucher or choose to purchase a home. So I think this will come up in future slides, but there will be options for some to move within public housing that is owned and operated by the Jersey City Housing Authority, or to receive a Section 8 voucher. Some individuals may decide they want neither, or they want to purchase a home. That is also something that is contemplated under the URA. So individuals and families who receive a Section 8 voucher or relocate to a public housing unit do not receive a replacement housing payment. That is only, it's a lump sum that only happens if you say, you know what, I'm not interested in moving to public housing or getting a Section 8, I'm leaving. There is a payment for that, or if you decide you're in the position to purchase a home. Housing of last resort. I always struggle with this term because it sounds so dire, but it is a legal term within the URA. And basically, it means that we have to provide comparable replacement housing that meets your needs no matter what, right? So there isn't an option for us to say we can't help you. And that's really what that terminology means. So there is a 90-day minimum written notice to vacate. So part of the reason why we have not started with the one-to-one meetings is that we are more than 2 years out at minimum before we start redeveloping. But we wanted to come to you early. Sometimes when a property is being redeveloped, people don't find out until just a few months before. In this case, we're going to be talking generally about the rights and responsibilities, but there will be a written notice sent to every resident who is here with 90 days minimum. This would happen in the fall of 2021. Our goal is that at that time, everybody will know so much about this that there will be no surprises, right? But it is a legal requirement to give you an actual written notice. It is unusual to be this far in advance, but we think it'll be helpful for you and for the agency to have planned this way. But this notice will be sent out no earlier than fall 2021, and basically is to tell you that if we come to you in October of 2021 and give you that notice, you cannot move until 3 months later. You have a time built in. But since we're coming early, hopefully, everybody will have had our expectation that one-on-one meetings and all of that will happen earlier in that year. But I want you to know that that's what we're required to do 90 days. We're starting this information process two plus years in advance. Resident rights under the Uniform Relocation Act and relocation eligibility. So what are your rights? We're going to talk about some of the same things we talked about in terms of what our legal responsibilities are. Advisory services, relocation counseling, explanation of payment and assistance. So what are some of the things that might be included in that? Making a decision about whether or not it makes sense to stay in public housing, accept a Section 8 voucher, if you decide to leave both systems or purchase a house. In terms of Section 8, we might talk about things like now you might be responsible for utilities. So there are all sorts of issues that might come up when you make a decision about what your replacement housing. We will provide that type of guidance and information to you. Comparable replacement housing options that are the shorthand DSS and functionally equivalent to your present dwelling. So for example, we could not relocate residents here to a hotel that has no kitchen, right? It has to be comparable. You will have to be right sized. If you are a family with children, we are not going to be putting you with multiple children in one room. It has to be comparable. The 90-day written notice prior to date of move out, what we talked about earlier. Here we're in a unique situation because we're 2+ years ahead, but the formal legal notification will come later in 2021. Reimbursement for moving costs and certain related moving expenses. Freedom of choice and selection of replacement dwelling. We cannot insist or demand that you make certain choices. We have to give you options, but we cannot tell you, no, you have to take this apart. And the right to appeal payment amounts. So you have a right to question, to appeal a determination. Resident relocation eligibility. Earlier I said, no one should move out or take any action until you've gotten accurate information. There are some other things that apply to resident relocation. All of you are familiar with the admissions and occupancy guidelines. While you still live here at Hudson Gardens, you are still a tenant. We have the same obligations in terms of recertification and the lease process. All of those rules still apply. The fact that we're announcing redevelopment doesn't change our obligations to you as tenants or your obligations as tenants to abide by the rules. So, for example, if a resident is evicted for cause prior to relocation, that has an impact on your ability to return to the site. Evictions process are covered in the admissions. There is an opportunity to question that. So all of those rights and responsibilities apply. Residents, like I talked about before, who leave housing prior to the receipt of a written notice of relocation eligibility. Residents not in good standing at the time of relocation. Undocumented residents, those who are not on the lease, and residents who are not on the unit. Residents who are evicted from cause for public housing during the relocation period or lose their voucher are not eligible to return. The voucher option, so those are those eligibility requirements. So, I know we've said this over and over again. I think it's important to ensure you are eligible for relocation assistance. Do not leave until you get the written letter of relocation eligibility. You're going to be meeting with a relocation coordinator to ensure all your paperwork is in order. There should be no questions. I know there might be questions about eligibility. You know, we talked about who's in good standing, who's not. When you meet with your relocation counselor, all of those issues will be discussed. There should be absolutely no surprises about that. Ask any questions you may have about relocation, moving, and all admissions and continued occupancy policies. For those of you who are coming from outside of the housing authority, the admissions and continued occupancy policies are policies that govern the relationship between residents and the housing authority. It is a public document. It is available on our website. The residents here are familiar with it, and all of those policies remain in effect, and you want to ensure that you remain in good standing, continuing to pay your rent and fees. Those are examples of remaining in good standing. So, with rights come responsibilities and obligations and commitments from us. So, you've heard it before, 90-day written communication about when relocation will happen. Basic advisory services, comparable replacement dwelling, moving expense payments, replacement housing payment if applicable. Remember, we talked about that's something that happens if you decide to purchase a home or leave public housing entirely. Down payment assistance if applicable. That's for and that's part of the replacement housing. Maintaining adequate records of acquisition and displacement activities to demonstrate compliance. So what does that mean? Here we have staff on site. We have a ROS program on site. When we talk about relocation, the individuals that you need to talk to are the individuals responsible for relocation. Why do we say that? Under the law, we are required to keep very clear and accurate records of our conversations with tenants regarding relocation. I understand that you have relationships with on-site staff, but this is a highly technical area, and we want to make sure that you're getting the information that is accurate. And second, we have to keep very good records. That's what we are obligated to do. So we have created a separate team to address relocation. So what does that mean? Does it mean you can't say to anyone here, I'm concerned about relocation? Of course not. But what that staff member is going to say to you is questions about relocations. This is who you need to call or who you need to contact. We're doing that to protect you and to ensure that the agency lives up to its legal obligations. I can't stress that enough. We really want to do this well, and we want to serve you well. The only way we can do this is by developing a process that makes sure that we give you the best information, that we document what we told you, that we keep all of the records organized, and we need your help. So you can speak to people here, but they have been advised that they're going to refer it to the relocation team, and we will come back. And then the question of housing of last resort. So that should give you comfort that when this building comes down, or the buildings come down, everybody will have been housed or chosen not to be housed. No one is going to get left behind. We are starting this early to make sure that we don't make mistakes and you have as minimal a disruption. So what is, to say minimal disruption when you're moving? I know many of you have lived here for a very long time. Some of you have lived here your entire lives. The thought of moving, I understand, is very stressful, right? What is going to happen? That's why we're coming to you early. We want to be able to do this smoothly and with great respect for you and your family. Please help us do this by staying informed, coming to the meetings. This information is always going to be available, and I'll tell you a little bit about how we're going to handle questions. Since we have legal rights and responsibilities around advisory services, right now, we are going to take questions. You can submit them at the office, you can call us, we'll have information, and they will be done in a general fashion. We are not able to start one-on-one counseling until 2021. But you can ask all of those questions, but we cannot sit down individually with you right now. Because what that would do would trigger all of the relocation. We're not there yet, but we want to address your concerns. So what we're going to do, starting this week, is in the office, there'll be a box with cards. If you prefer not to drop your question off, you can do it anonymously, you can tell us who you are, however you want to do it. We are going to answer each and every question. And when we come back at the meeting, we'll be providing all of those answers. It'll also be available on the website, and we're happy to share it with advocates, right? So everybody is working with a good set of information. Yes?
You can also submit comments and questions through our website, the Holland Gardens Vision website. And you can also always call the Department of Development if you have questions.
Yes. So I think this is the right time to introduce Liz Davidoff, who is the development coordinator in our development department. She's sitting next to Stephen Sia, who is the director of development. Liz is charged within the development team for collating and getting the answers to any and all questions that tenants and advocates might have. I'll be providing her information. Her information is available on the website as well. I also want to just, there's some commitments that we made that are outside of the URA legal requirements. As we said from day one, we're replacing all of the public housing units upon completion of the project. We're going to provide individualized and ongoing relocation counseling. Not just, if you need more than one session with us, you'll get more than one session with us. One session's the minimum, right? Sometimes things will come up. I know over the course of the 6 months, people have raised all sorts of issues. We will meet with you as often as we need to help you. Opportunities to relocate to public housing units as available, or access to housing choice vouchers during relocation. Reimbursement for cost of moving back to the project and come back to the site for residents who choose to return. Up-to-date and accessible information about the redevelopment and relocation process, including quarterly community meetings prior to relocation, and consistent opportunities to participate in the revitalization process. We didn't meet every month for 6 months to stop talking with you now. You have our commitment to regular meetings. Oh, did you wait? Oh. And we also, as you know, have monthly board meetings. You can always come to our board meetings. They are the first Wednesday typically of every month at 6 p.m. at our headquarters. So here's the estimated timeline, and many of you have seen this. This we shared at the June meeting, and we have copies in the back. So right now, what's going to happen over the next 2 months is we are preparing a request for qualification. Based on the visioning document that was produced from our 6 months working together, we're putting out a request for qualification. This means we're not choosing a developer yet, but we're determining who has the capacity to even bid on this project. We anticipate that an RFP will go out in winter or spring of 2020. After receiving, board approval, that will happen. We expect that RFP review and the final decision will be made by next fall of 2020. Then we have a whole pre-development phase. How will all of this work, right? There's a lot of research, architectural construction planning, permits to be obtained. That will happen through fall of 2020 to fall of 2021. It seems like a long time, but it does require a lot of work and effort to do this well and right. And then, as we said before, relocation, earliest fall 2021, might be winter of 2022. That is available out in the back, written forms. So the timeline, do you want to talk? I'm going to hand this over to Liz about resident survey and some of the items on this.
Sure, yeah.
Do you want? I'll give you the thanks.
You can hear your voice, right?
Thank
you. So, this is an estimated timeline. Everything is approximate. We are trying to give you just a sense of what it's going to look like. But I think that all of these dates are sort of this is what it would look like at the earliest. It's not necessarily going to happen at this exact time, but I will say relocation won't start until fall of 2021 at the earliest. So, as part of the relocation, the first thing we're going to do prior to even doing one-on-one counseling is we're going to send out a resident survey. And every occupant or every family will have to respond to the survey. So this is to gather basic information about what your needs are during relocation. So it's going to ask you questions about income. It's going to ask you questions about specific needs. So, for example, if you have a child who goes to school in the neighborhood, so it's very important that you stay in the neighborhood. That's something that I want to know because I have to offer you comfortable replacement housing. So I can't move you to Bayonne. If your child lives, if you have a child and they go to school in this neighborhood, I mean, ideally I would move you somewhere where they can just stay in this neighborhood. So these are the types of things I want to know. I want to know if you live next door, currently your apartment is next door to your aging mother and you help her because that is a really convenient situation for you, and so you would like something similar. Like these are the types of things that I want to know about you as an individual family because I want to ensure that when you move, it is the least stressful move possible. So some of these other terms are just, they're URA terms. The terms that are used by the Uniform Relocation Act. So initiation of negotiations is when we are negotiating with the developer about the redevelopment, and that is officially when relocation processes start. So that is when you start getting notices. So you'll get what's called a general information notice, or it's a GIN. And the GIN essentially says that relocation is going to happen at this site. It says very blatantly in bold writing, do not move out of your unit at this time. Because like we said, you could lose your relocation eligibility if you move out too soon. There's also other requirements. Vivian mentioned that we must inspect the unit and ensure that it's decent, safe, and sanitary. So for example, if you move into a unit that we did not inspect, and it is found to, if you move into a unit and after moving into the unit, we discover that it's not decent, safe, and sanitary, we are not allowed to provide you with relocation payments for that unit. So it's the same as with a Section 8 voucher. You can't take a Section 8 voucher and move into a unit that has not been inspected by the Jersey City Housing Authority. Because we have an obligation under federal law to ensure that your unit, wherever you're moving, is decent, safe, and sanitary. After this, you'll get a notice of eligibility for relocation. So this will be a sent for certified mail. So we ensure you receive it, and we'll tell you that you are eligible for relocation. It will give you specific information, and it will give you a better timeline. So this is going to be the notice of eligibility for relocation. I'm estimating it will be winter of 2021 or spring of 2021. So as you recall, we're saying that relocation won't start until fall of 2021, so it's going to give you a lot of time to start getting things together. Then we're going to start relocation counseling. The URA requires us to meet with each person once. We're committing to meet with people as much as they need to be met with in order for them to feel comfortable. So ongoing relocation counseling. Some people might only need to meet with us once, but some people might need to meet with us on a more ongoing basis. And that doesn't just end with relocation. So I want to ensure that you can come back to the site. So I won't be meeting with people, you need to meet with me after relocation. Can I just finish? We will keep meeting with you to ensure that you're eligible to come back to the site. Then you're gonna get 120 days before your move out date, you're gonna get a 120-day notice. So what is that, 6 months? So approximately 6 months, you're 4 months? Sorry, 4 months. I'm not very good at that. You're gonna get a 120-day notice that has an estimated date. The date can still change at that point, but it's an estimated date of move out. Then the 90-day notice will have a specific date. So that will have the actual date you are expected to move out. Now, as the executive director mentioned before, you will not be given this notice without having been offered comparable replacement housing options. So you're not going to be given a 90-day notice and expect that you're on your own after that, and the next 90 days you have to move out and you have to find a place. You're going to have, at that point, have met with a relocation counselor. You're going to have talked to the relocation counselor about your personal concerns, and they're going to have given you comparable replacement housing options and ensure that you are receiving a voucher, or you're moving into another public housing site, or you're getting down payment assistance, or you decided to completely go out of the program, so you're going to get replacement housing payments. The 90-day notice is not going to be a surprise. You'll know well ahead of time. This is, starting 2 years ahead of time. So, are you?
That's good, thank you. Thank you for this. So, as we said before, we want you to stay up to date. This is the first of many meetings. We said we're more than 2 years ahead. Prior to beginning relocation, we are, from now on, we'll be meeting with you again in the fall. We will announce that with at least a month in advance, ideally 6 weeks in advance when we do our fall meeting. All information covered tonight, in addition to the 6 months of the visioning, is available on hollandgardensvision.org. Comments and questions can be submitted through comment cards available in the office or online. Questions will be directed toward the Jersey City Housing Department of Development, Modernization, and Sustainability. This information will be in the office, it's also on the website. The email there is for Liz Davidoff, JCHA.us. If you forget all of that, just call and say you want information on relocation, right? And we want to make this easy, if you don't remember anything, just call and say, I have a relocation question. We'll route you to the right place, okay? That is the first relocation. It was very high level, but we thought it was important that you have the understanding that you have rights, right? And we have certain legal obligations. I would say we're going to be looking for support and engagement from residents and resident leadership in terms of the survey. Help us help you the best way that we can. Everybody has a very unique family situation. There may be concerns that you have, we will let you know. But we've got some time, and we want to come back, and we will be going over all of the questions. So we thank you. When do we think, before the end of the week, we will have the box in the office. We will have the cards. You can go online and ask the question. I just saw it, was that a hand up? Oh, I thought it was my hand up.
Would you like to ask questions?
Yes. I said, who's that? What? You, yes. And we're taking these questions down. Yes.
Would we be able to be relocated to a Bayonne Union City House? Or is that,
So the question is, would you be able to be relocated to another housing authority? So I'm gonna write, I don't know the answer to that, I'm gonna write it down and I'll respond.
We're not trying to be evasive, but that might be dependent on several things, including the conversations that's happening. We'll get back to you on that, yes.
But the relocation does happen all at one time, they don't get it.
Oh, in terms of how people move out?
Moving out.
Well, it may look like a phase, but it will be within a certain time period, right? Yes, we're not, everybody will receive the notice. We will be sending it by certified mail to everyone at the same time. Did I hear something else? Yes.
You have children that are grown, and like I have all boys, they're all grown. Are they able to get their own, like, split?
So the question is, if you are residing.
And they work.
Right, if you are residing with adult children who are employed, are they entitled to separate apartments?
Yes, only had a household.
Only the head of, yes, they are, but only the head of household gets the right of return. Because it's a very important concept to understand. So if people are housed separately during the relocation, the right to return is assigned to the head of household. So let's say you have multiple adult children, people are housed differently. The right to return doesn't create a right now to 3 different apartments. I just wanted to clarify, yes.
They gonna go.
When you relocate, otherwise when you relocate, us as a household, we relocate.
Right, the adult children, I'll say this.
Vivian,
Yes.
can you just repeat the question, please?
I want to make sure I got it right.
When you relocate, we get relocated, right?
Yes,
You also relocate if the children are working, adult children are working, can they be relocated into their own place? But now it's still on time to return on us, the household.
Right.
right, they get relocation.
There is an official split, yes.
Yes, it's an official split, but, I'm sorry.
They get relocation.
For the relocation, not for the return. And we will have that in writing. So, I'm happy to take a few more questions, but like I said, we will be back in the fall, and we will cover all of these questions you asked again in greater detail. I know that there'll be questions about, I hear already about when you relocate when they're adults, as we said, clarifying the right of return. What were the other questions, Liz?
Will people be moving out at one time or in phases?
Phasing versus all at one time.
Right, and are you able to be relocated to another housing authority?
Yes. Right, we will come back with formal answers to that. Can we pick our location? Do you get to pick your location? Yes. It all depends on availability in terms of public housing. And then, Section 8, we have different requirements. So you'll be given options. So when we come back, I think it might be very helpful when we come back to do, maybe we'll have the Section 18 here to talk about Section 8 specifically. Because one of the things I mentioned, right? If you choose to do a Section 8 voucher, there are different rights and responsibilities that come with Section 8. So perhaps what we should do at the fall meeting is I will have the Section 18 here, and we can do something similar to this about some of the key requirements under Section 8. So we'll do that in the fall. Okay, absolutely, yes. We are working on interpretation. We are also providing all of the HUD documents in multiple languages. But we will provide, that's part of some of the survey information. We want to provide the information in the best way possible for residents. So those are some of the things we're beginning to look at. Yes. The move out, we covered this earlier, the earliest will be fall of 2021. A little more than 2 years from now. That is the earliest that we will provide a notice relocation. When we give you that notice, it is a 90-day notice. You you have 3 months at that time to move out. What we're doing is a little bit unusual, that we're having these conversations 2 years in advance. So in 2021 in the fall, that's when we'll be sending out the formal notices. That's our expectation, no sooner than that.
I wasn't really clear on what was said about relocation, I didn't understand. You said the head of household was the only one that.
Has the right of return. Yes, meaning the family, no, the family comes back. The question
In one
was,
unit.
but when it gets to 1 unit. So the question was, when you relocate and you have adult children who are working, there may be some circumstances where the family is split during the relocation. But in the return, it's the family headed by the head household. Yes.
I wasn't sure.
Yes, no, I understand, there's a lot going on. So, I'll take just a few more questions, and then we will revisit the section 8 of the law. I think that's. I'm sorry? Oh, our pleasure. We'll be back in the fall. Thank you, everybody, for coming.